Hi, I'm Desi, or Uzor Blackstar on DeviantArt. Desi is short for Deserted Dreams. You can pretty much call me whatever you want, though. This is a video tutorial on how I go about my painting process. Overall, it's pretty self-explanatory, but I figure I'll just sit here and give some commentary and see if I can shed a little light on things. Most of the questions I get are actually about painting lips and hair, and those don't come up until a little bit later. Obviously, we're on her eyes, and I have a lot of work on her skin before I get to, the fun parts. This is my character Rain, and the painting itself took roughly 3.5 hours, not including the sketch time because I didn't record that. And it was recorded in about 9 different segments, so there's some jumps and weirdness, but hopefully it's still easy enough to understand. Obviously, during this painting, I got kind of frustrated with her nose. I'm not very good at painting them. They're the weak spot in my art. My color palette is pretty much saved over there on the right side, and it's just colors that I've liked for painting skin. One trick on color palettes is that you never want to use the same hue. Make sure you vary. So, make sure that when you're going more into the shadows, you add more red, and add more yellow in the highlights. Green and purple and stuff are good in highlights, although I didn't really use them in this one. Although there's purple in the shadows. Yeah. Rain has some special stuff, so we're going to cover her scars later. As you can tell, I just painted over the top of them because, well, this early on they don't really need to be there. Let's see. Continuing to play with her nose. The best way to figure out anything you have difficulty with is to look at real life. In between this segment and the next, that starts right now, I thought to actually go look at a photo of a nose and, stare at somebody's nose while I was outside. So, I don't know, it worked a lot better once I went and looked at somebody. A lot of this painting process is just trying things and seeing what works for you. So a number of times you'll see I start something and then change my mind and erase it. That's just, trial and error. Just trying to figure out what needs to be done. Adding the bruises underneath Rain's eyes, because, around the eyes is probably one of the most varied places in the human face. Now we're on to lips. Wow, that was fast. The most highlighted spots on the lips are the center of the bottom lip and the top edge of the top one. But because of Rain's lip ring, it can get a little complicated in the middle highlight there on the bottom. As you can tell, I got tired of the shape of her mouth and she was smiling too much, so I switched it and repainted over the top of it. And I do that a lot. I just go over it or paint over it and start over again from scratch. There is no wrong or right thing there. And the human face is incredibly flexible and diverse, so unless you're dealing with a celebrity in photorealism, you can pretty much have a free-for-all on people's faces. There is not anything particularly right or wrong. This is one of the only times I use a layer in the whole painting process, and it's to add some warmth to her cheeks and nose. Defining the basic highlights in her hair, basically which strand is going to overlap which strand, because with those long, curly pieces and all the curls, that can get really complicated really fast. As you can tell, I tip my canvas around and look at my painting from all different angles, whichever angle happens to be easiest for me to draw or paint at any given moment since my wrist and hand are kind of strangely built. I definitely have a preference for this angle. More details on her nose. At this point, her face is kind of nearing completion, with the exception of like the scars. Obviously, I'm starting on the scar on her neck. It's probably worth noting that the type of scar Rain has, they're more sunken than necessarily all the scars are. Scars can be either raised or sunken. Rain's are sunken, and so you add shadow to the scar itself, and then a sharp, bright highlight around the edge of the scar to make that skin look more raised, because scars are not flush with your skin, so they have to look like they're either standing out or, sunken in. Piercings are pretty easy, lots of shades of grayish color. Just make sure that they are reflecting any bright color. So if you look closely at Rain's in the picture I'm going to link at the end of this, then you can tell that her piercings reflect the blue in like her lips. Sometimes they reflect the blue in her hair, but not so much today. Defining that gradient. Doesn't matter if I paint over the hair because the hair is not detailed yet, so I can just paint over everything and paint over it again and paint over it again, and it'll be fine. It's the fun thing about one layer painting. It's very easy to fix because you don't have to worry about your line art or whatever. Okay, going back through, redefining shadows because I'm about to start her hair. So you basically go through, add dark color, and then go through and you add lighter colors. You switch your brush size. Obviously I got Control Z will be your best friend through this. Add more highlighted strands to areas that you want to have in more light, and more shadowy ones to areas that are supposed to be more shadowed. I painted in her part because you can see people's scalps through their hair. And then I started in on all this long flowy hair. It's important with hair that you remember to go from back to front, because it's much easier if you paint these strands that are in the far back first and then paint the ones that go over them afterwards. With Rain's hair it can get a little bit complicated because of the way her hair curls up around her face, because some of the blue goes right over the black, and I compensate by duplicating layers and being really careful, or just using an eraser. It depends on my mood. With these, it's important to just follow the way your wrist wants to bend. Don't force it. If you force it, it'll look really weird and rigid and just disgusting. I was playing with the stability on my brush in this one. I finally settled on putting it onto 9. Previously, I've not actually used stability very much, but I don't know, my wrist has been wearing out recently and I can't go at angles that I used to, which makes me sound really old. But so yeah, just continuing to build up the different sections of her hair. After I finished a couple of these chunks, I went back through and I added separate little strands around it using my lightest highlight color. Those are the strands that catch the light, that are like flyaway. So it's pretty much a good plan to use your bright color on them. Rain's hair twists, and so it's got some weird shadows in it, but oh well. Okay, halfway done with her hair. And on to the next part. I was having a hard time with her hair because with Rain's hair, it's really easy to get overbalanced, like one way or the other, because if you have too much going on one side, it looks strange. So that took some finagling. I'm still not necessarily 100% happy with it. Sorry about iTunes continuously popping up. I was getting frustrated with the fact my computer seemed to want to play Evanescence all the time. So, just continuing to build up colors. I work chunk by chunk so that I end up with the hair looking reasonably consistent. Just remember your brush sizes because you're constantly going to be changing them. At the resolution this was at, I was doing my first layer of shadows and highlights with about a 20 to 30 pixel brush, and then the finer highlights and details with a 10 to 15 pixel brush, and then the little flyaway and detail strands in like a 8 or 9 pixel brush. But this painting is, I think it was like 3,000 by 6,000 or something. So just adjust that according to the size of your picture. There is no right and no wrong. Remember to just have fun, go with the flow, do what you think looks right. When it comes to art, there is no right, no wrong, and as long as you aren't doing it as a job, it's primarily just have fun. And if you're watching this, it's probably just have fun. Do it because you enjoy it. Rain's hair is built up, by the way, of colors ranging from lime green to a dark purple. So, you know, make sure you vary the color of your stuff. And I think that's about it. So if you have any questions, just leave them for me and I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you, and thank you for watching. Bye.